everyone would rise for a moment of silence and the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you not hear me?
Okay, first on the agenda, I would like to place our April 30th minutes. Ms. Diane has emailed those to everyone. Anita, have you had a moment to review those?
I have.
Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Without objection, I'd like to go ahead and get those approved.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, so I have a first and a second to approve the April 30th minutes for the Budget Committee. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the AP and above salary scales. This is the one we have had just so many issues with it. So what we've got is if we did, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, when we tried to add the current salary scale plus 3,000, that took everybody off scale.
It took them off the scale because I have to be able to explain to the state how their salaries are computed, starting with a scale. And when we just add an amount like that, it basically takes everybody off the scale.
Do you not have to explain how teachers?
Well, teachers see, I can explain it on the scale. Same thing, I have to upload all of them. But I have to say that based on their years of experience and their educational level, this is the amount they make. And anything above that, if they get supplement, I have to add that separate, and then I have to show the calculations.
And this takes, if we just add a flat 3,000.
Right. And then we'd have to know where to put them next year, because that may put them on the scale, off the scale, because we'd have to start all over again next year.
Okay. Now, the budget that I'm looking at that you sent out to us, that reflects the $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we change that, you'll have to go back and change, obviously, the budget.
Correct.
And I don't want to take anybody off scale to where you can't explain it. I think you have to look at the state and say, this is how we did it. Any suggestions?
What were you saying to do again, please?
Well, I don't think we can add just the flat $3,000 because
No.
it takes everybody off scale.
Right.
So I think if we looked at a percentage, adding a percentage to it, then you can calculate from that percentage, right?
Absolutely, just like we do today,
And just like we've done every year for the last
100 years.
100 years.
But not the high percentages that we have now, like the 25% and the 17%.
Yes, that you start from your salary scale,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you calculate according to what percentages. If they're a 20-year elementary assistant principal, they're going to get 22% added to this salary scale.
Okay. So we're not going to get rid of the percentages this year.
I don't know how we can.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I don't see that we can afford it.
Okay. Okay. So are we looking at this?
We're looking at this. I think some discussion needs to be had about proposing just a percentage that keeps them on this scale and that keeps them where Kim can explain it to the state of Tennessee.
So the
Okay.
one that we got from you, Ms. Bray, is using the scale plus 3%. Is that right?
I prepared one like that for Ms. Boston and Mr. Stepp.
Mr. Steppe mailed it out to everybody.
It wasn't for me, but yes, I prepared that.
What I'm proposing, if you take into consideration the 8% that we gave assistant principal and above last year, and we indicated that that could not take place again this year because we simply could not afford it. If we add 2% to that, that means they have received a 10% raise in 2 years. And that's a pretty substantial raise for the last 2 years. And that would be what I'm looking at, is just to give them a 2% in 2 years, and go from there.
So on this scale right here,
Don't look at that.
don't look at that. Why not?
Question I have is, where are we with teachers? What did we do with them?
We added 3,000 across the board, which keeps them on the same salary scale.
We also had agreed to put administrators there too. What happened to that?
That's what Kim just got through explaining. That takes, if you add just a flat 3,000, that takes them off this scale.
But it doesn't take the teachers off the scale?
They have a different scale.
Okay.
So if we put them on the same scale we agreed to, it
No, we
would take
didn't
them off.
agree to it. That was some proposals.
The minutes on 9/24 or 4/24 say we did.
Okay.
All three of us agreed. Put teachers and administrators on the same scale. But last meeting you said we didn't. The minutes say we did.
Okay.
So if we stayed with that and added 3,000, you wouldn't take them off scale.
Well, I don't know that you can take the teacher scale, add 3,000 to it for
That's
administrators.
what we did, was we took the scale, the teacher scale, and we just added 3,000, which we can do that, that's not, because
But
we
then
added it
you
to every
added the
level.
$40 per day and
that's the-
$80 per day.
That's on and above the scale. I think what Mr. King is saying is just let everybody have the same starting point. They start on the same scale,
Yes.
But then what are you gonna do with that scale?
and then you would add the percentages at this point to that. Am I understanding, sir? You're just saying start with the same scale.
Right.
Everybody be on the same scale.
Yeah, instead of having 15 different scales, just one.
And then just add your percentages to that scale.
What does that do?
And what percentages are we talking about?
You're talking, now you can look at this.
Now you're talking
Now you
about
can look at this.
that if it's a certified supervisor and they have 13 years in, they get 26% of their
Yes.
salary. And on down the line, let's say it's a
I
secondary.
didn't bring the teacher's salary scale with me. And I don't,
Would you like a copy? I have it.
yeah, please, if you don't mind. I want to look at it for just a moment.
There in the packet.
Just a thought while we're waiting, we're thinking of percentages. The average cost of living increase this year was 3.2% for 2024. So Social Security increased by 3.2%. Last year, the average cost of living was 8.7%. So we were in the range of the cost of living increase last year. If we wanted to stay in the range of cost of living increase this year, 3.2%.
Okay, I think I have it, but I'll take another one.
I didn't bring mine with me. I thought we were past this, but
you.
Thank you.
I'll take it just in case it's different than I have. Thank you.
So, Ms. Bray, if we used this teacher scale, and we're saying somebody has a doctorate with 16 years' experience, on the teacher scale, it says $72,941. Am I looking at it correctly?
That's correct.
And then and then you add the 3,000, that's
No,
70.
no, this has already got the 3,000 added to it.
The 72
Yes,
has
ma'am.
it?
Yes, ma'am. This is the proposal, well, this is what you folks accepted for the teacher.
And then, but right next to it, it's got like the specialist degrees, that would be 74,600. That's with the 3,000
Yes,
added
ma'am.
to it?
This is the completely thing, this is just the scale that's in place now with $3,000 added at all levels.
But what happens to those people that are making more than this with this amount of,
Well, if you look at the teacher's salary, and I'm just taking the top person, they've got 14 years and they have a master's. On the teacher's scale, they would be looking at a starting point of 62,213.
If they're system-wide.
Where would our principals and everywhere?
The principals would be under the teacher column, and your supervisors here would be system-wide.
Okay, so you're looking at 60.
Yes, ma'am.
On the current salary that we're using, the base salary is 55. So you're starting out with a $5,000 increase before you ever start adding percentages, if we go off the teacher scale.
Correct.
That's where we ran into the problem with people getting $16,000 raises, $11,000 raises, and I can't do that.
and why did we get so much of a raise if we're starting with the scale and we're only giving 3,000 on top of it?
Well, you're talking about two different things. If we add 3,000 to on the teacher scale, okay, which we did, then what you're doing is then you go back and you add the percentages, like 14 years would be, let's say that they're an elementary principal. They're gonna get 25% on top of that.
Right,
And they've got a $5,000 increase before we ever start adding the percentages.
right.
And that's where we ran into, and I think Kim, you and I calculated that somewhat, and that's where we ran into some of the people getting
Getting,
such large raises.
Yes, that is correct.
And I mean, you can't help it if we go off the same scale, because the teacher scale is
Right now, it's
It's
about
designed-
5% higher base, side by
Right.
side, before the percentages,
right.
than the admin scale.
Right. So like I said, it's in black and white. You start 5,000 ahead before you ever add 25% to it. And if you take that, you're adding another $15,000.
right.
But if you do away with those percentages, just go with a 40, 80, 80 or something like that.
Well, if you
and
do
those
that,
percentages go away.
you still have the increase for some individuals that are enormous. I mean, any proposal that we've looked at, we've got people getting $11,000 raises, $16,000 raises, $9,000 raises.
Could I ask who those are?
Well, I mean, I don't have my calculations with me, but I've got them at home.
I'm just saying, could I ask who those individuals are?
Well, you're gonna have to ask somebody besides me, but we had discussed it, did we not, Miss Bray?
We did, and it was, I think that was on one of the budget versions that you have. It
Was.
reflects that.
The sheet we got today has some good information like that. It doesn't have names, that's fine.
Oh, I don't
So-
necessarily need names. But I'm just saying, we had some individuals getting a huge raise.
Does it indicate that they're underpaid now?
No, when we did the Lean Frog study, our admin and principals were, I think we only had one that was under, but was a little bit below, and that was our CAO.
As a group, as an average, but individually, not.
As an average. Well, that's all we have to go on.
Yes, but you're pulling out and saying somebody's getting 11,000.
That was on
Right.
the other calculations, Chris.
So I'm saying, who are those people?
Well-
How did they get so far out of whack?
That was when we did the 40, I don't know if it was the 40, 80, 80 or the
Yes, the 40,
62, 50, 100, 100. We've done so many calculations on this that it's just been very confusing. But in keeping in spirit of what we can afford and what we did in line with our teachers, I'm going to make a motion that we take the salary scale that is currently with the percentages, add 2% for assistant principals and above, and leave that alone. And then we can move on with this budget.
Add 2%.
Add 2%. That gives them a total of 10% for the last 2 years.
But not, but we're still not doing away with percentages. Can't do it.
Well, I mean, we can. But it's gonna cost you some money.
I'll second your motion.
Okay. And I think we're kind of at odds about what we need to do. And maybe next year TISA will come up with more money and we can add those to the salary. This year, I just can't do it. And I think that's fair.
The difference, did we look at the cost difference between 2% or doing an average cost of living increase at 3%?
If we're looking at, did we give a cost of living of 3% to the teachers? Who knows? We just added $3,000 to it. Don't know if that's 3%, 2%, 5%, 9%, I don't know, because we just added a flat rate. But that's my proposal, and that keeps everyone, I mean, you have some people that will get a $5,000 raise, and I can't hand pick who gets how much. All I can say is that's 10% within the last 2 years. And I think if you'll look at the history of our percentages of the last, let's say, probably 6 years, it took us 4 years to get to 10% previously. And we've done that in the last 2 years, which I think is impressive in itself.
Yes, what we're looking from the Lean Fog review is, what they found was the entry level in our district was lower than average.
Well,
But
so
as
did
we
Governor.
as we get up into the higher degrees, then we're competitive. So if they have the higher degrees, the more time with us, we're paying competitively, but people who are entering, we're paying lower, which might affect our ability to recruit. So we just want to keep that in mind.
But we're trying to get our teachers up. The governor has told us we have to. And we've got 2 more years, Kim,
Yes,
in which to do that.
to get to 50.
And these are reoccurring expenses. These are, you're gonna see it again next year. Except you're just gonna be required to add to it next year. And I think we have to consider, you said, and I'm gonna ask you, what did you say the percentage of our budget is in salaries and benefits?
85.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with 15% of our budget to do everything else.
Correct. People and benefits.
I'm going to stick with my motion. Any more discussion?
Would you restate it, please?
Yes. Take the licensed certified personnel, assistant principal and above, including principals, system-wide supervisors, take that salary scale that is currently in place, add 2%, and then calculate your percentages as they fall. I'm not gonna say I like it either, but I think it's one of our only choices if we're gonna move on with this budget.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No,
I vote aye, so motion carries.
But we're gonna have to try and get rid of those percentages next year.
Well, let me, this is not on the agenda, but this is just looking at it. You can get rid of the percentages, but it's gonna cost you. And when you start giving those large raises, because it does cost you, you're gonna hear from your teachers, your non-certified, at how is that fair? That's, I mean, I've had numerous communications with how is that fair? And you can, there's a way, and I'm comfortable that if anybody can find it, Kim can. I've just not seen it. Without it costing us too much money.
Thank you.
Kim, if you'll adjust the
2%.
2%.
Got it.
Okay, next on the agenda is the actual budget draft. And I think we've gone through this numerous times so that we're where we need to be, with the exception of just a couple of more questions. Chris, do you have any questions about the budget? No. Okay, Kim, on the greenhouses, on 71300-336.
What page is it?
Hang on just a second. It's our first CTE page.
8,
713. Okay, it's page 8. Will the ISM grant pay for those greenhouses? So that 20,000 is in consideration of 700,000 we're getting back from the ISM grant. Am I correct, Leslie?
The ISM is gonna help with the greenhouses, correct?
The ISM is gonna build all 5 greenhouses, yes.
Okay, okay. The 50,000 that we budgeted last year for the 2 building packages that we did not buy, does that money roll back into the general fund?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Now, what line are we looking at?
Those were just general questions.
Okay, thank you.
Let me see. 71300-706 is the building. We budgeted 50,000 last year,
Okay.
but we didn't spend it. And that's gonna roll back in.
Okay.
And we're budgeting 50 again this year to buy those packages. Leslie, do you have the staff in which to?
We do, and like I said, if we don't do the house packages, we will do smaller packages, maybe a tiny home, storage units, things like that, so the skills can be developed through the classes.
But do you have the staff to?
We do currently, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I noticed that, that the total number of teachers you wanted, Ms. Eldridge, is 61.
That's currently how many we have.
And I saw one budget that didn't have quite that many. Trying to find it. Let's see, that's page 8.
That's gonna be 7-2.
Page 8. An old budget that we had.
We
There was
had
only
46.
46.
We had 46 last year. We
Oh,
have
that was for
61.
last year.
Yes.
Thank
We
you.
have 61 this year.
So why do we need 61 this year if we did 46 last year?
We currently have 61 this school year.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's not any new positions. That's just positions we had open that we just now filled.
Okay.
They
that
were
correct?
they were filled at the beginning of this school year with ISM funds.
Okay.
Okay.
But we are asking for no new positions. That is correct.
Okay.
So we had 46, and then that increased to 61 with ISM money.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, are those the positions that we're going to have to sustain?
Yes, so this year, ISM will pay 75% of those positions, and our county will pay 25%.
So we added 15 positions with ISM money.
Yes, ma'am.
But now, when this grant expires, we have to sustain those positions. Is that correct?
That is always the intention. Yes, ma'am. But we're gradually doing that. So next year, we'll pay 50% with the ISM, and our local will pick up 50. So we're gradually stepping down so we can gradually increase that budget over the next 3 years to sustain those positions.
And each one of those positions are generating money through TISA. So TISA right now, what monies they've generated so far is more than what the 25% is we'd have to fund next year. And it'll be more than the 50% we have to fund. So as we create more C codes, they're getting more credits, which means we're getting more dollars from TISA because of these positions.
But in 2026, we will be fully required to completely fund these positions.
Yes, with the goal that we were generating all that full money through TISA.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. On SPED, and I think Ms. Holton is here, we added 7 positions last year, and you are asking for 2 new positions.
Last year we added 7 certified teachers. This year I'm asking for an assistant at South and an SLPA position, which is 2 assistant positions. Based on numbers. And the SLPA position is in hope of lessening the contracted service amount that we're paying each month.
Say that again.
The SLP would hopefully decrease the amount of money that we're paying in contracted services every month.
Okay, but we're adding contracted services for I think 300,000, 250,000, because how many speech pathologists does that contract?
So currently we have 2 individual service agreements. We had 3. One went on maternity leave for speech. Then we have Sidekick as a company. We have OT, PT, a behavior contract because we couldn't fill the behavior position. And so those contracts are running us about $30,000 a month currently.
30,000 a month. Do they bill the insurance?
Yes, they bill for TennCare before,
But then we pay any overage?
correct?
Okay. Okay.
Is that for teachers or assistants?
She's asking for 2 assistants this year.
2 assistants this new
Right.
year.
And we added 7, where are those 7 positions that we put in last year? I mean, what are they? Where are they?
We added a teacher at Stone Elementary. I'm pretty sure we added a teacher at Martin. I'm gonna have to look back. I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
so focused on this year that last
I
year.
understand, but do we have any in central office of those 7?
No.
They
None
were
of
all
those
out in the schools.
Every position we added last year is out of school.
Okay, okay. Okay, then other than that, the only other thing that I'm looking at is, the 70,000 in aviation scholarships. and the $62,000 box truck. I'll make a motion that we cut those from the budget and we'll wait and see what next year brings.
Yeah, I don't recommend that.
Well, I understand that. But I don't think that we can afford to give 4 children $70,000 in scholarships. We have 6,900 children that we need to do for. And I think that money would help us in other areas.
Now, these scholarships for these children, is that they're already in the program?
They are in the program. You said you had 4, right?
We currently have 4 this year. That would be to add 4 next year. So it would be to sustain the ISM grant that was initially written in 2020 for aviation. That would be for sustainability. So we would be cutting that program where students earn a private pilot's license from Cumberland County Schools.
But they could still take the aviation courses.
Yes, that is in our,
And they would receive that credit.
they would receive a credit, but they would not receive something to be industry ready and workforce ready.
And how does that impact our TISA funds?
It would be, it would impact our TISA outcomes a little bit because it is industry credentials.
So we'd be getting less.
Yes, ma'am.
Would we be
TISA.
getting $70,000 less?
I was only asking for 60, and I don't know. I would have to look at the calculations. Probably not that much, but we would be getting something.
Right, okay. I still would make that motion.
The motion to,
Cut the 70 in aviation scholarships and the $62,000 box truck.
So the addition for the aviation was 60,000, 10,000 for the travel increase for competitions, for a total of 70.
Okay. That's the line.
Quick question. You said you did apply for some money for that, for the licensing
I
part
did
of
last-
it. Is there, rather than just saying we're taking it all, is there some, you said you thought we would get some money back to help with that? Could we
I don't know that we
reduce?
will. I don't know if we would get that grant. I didn't get it last year when I wrote it, so it's no guarantee that we would get it this year. So if we could offer the scholarship program to 2 students, 1 from each high school, rather than cutting it all out, something is better than nothing, to show that we still have that program and to show with the state that we are sustaining $1 million grant that they gave us.
But it's not, we're not in a position we're gonna have to send money back, $1 million back if we don't sustain those scholarships.
No, but we had an agreement to sustain that to the best of our ability. We've already spent the $1 million.
oh,
Okay,
Could we potentially lose the program altogether?
well, that grant expired, so we don't have that program anymore.
If we don't attract instructors, yes, we could.
I meant losing the aviation program itself, not having it continuing to go through the grant, but
I would be willing to amend my motion to 1 scholarship each school.
Something would be better than nothing, and I appreciate that.
I would be more than willing to do that. So I'll amend my motion to grant 1 scholarship per high school, which is a decrease of 30,000. And, sorry, Ken, but I just can't see the box truck.
so by doing that, we wouldn't cut the program completely?
Well, you're
and
not gonna cut the program anyway.
Okay.
You're just not going to be awarding a pilot's license to 2 students.
So how would they go about getting their pilot's license after they completed?
Pay for it themselves?
Yeah.
They would have to pay for it themselves.
Well,
And that would be very few students who were able to do that.
but we're still saying you've amended it for at least 1.
1 per high school.
And I think down the road, if there are other scholarships, then we can say we've already got this program in place, and we're more likely to get that funding if we can show we have it already sustainability
And I'm
wise.
amenable to that. I
Okay.
don't want to hold any student back,
Right.
but you have to look
I
at
understand.
the total picture.
Yes.
The whole CT program is what are we gonna invest? And then how are they gonna help us because of what we're investing? So if we're not investing in running the programs, they're not gonna be likely to help us with that.
Right.
That's true.
Well, I've seen it happen where we quit JORTC and Mr. Step can't even find us, get us back again
Right.
with JORTC.
I'm interviewing somebody next week.
Thank you, sir.
Fingers crossed.
But I mean, it's been difficult, has
Very
it not?
difficult. You gotta go
Because we
through-
quit that particular program.
Yeah.
So if we keep some of this in place, it would be easier to maybe get additional funding.
Yeah, showing stability is important. Yeah.
I'll amend.
Thank
So
you.
my motion is to offer $30,000 to 2 scholarships and wait and see what next year brings on the box truck, which is $62,000.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And I vote aye, so motion carries. That's all of my questions for the budget. I think if we can make those amendments and call it special call, we may be able to get this budget out. How long will it take you?
I'll get it tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow's Thursday. When would y'all want to call a special call for the entire board?
We have to do it early enough. We're avoiding graduation tomorrow night, right?
Well, I'd want to do it, I'd want her to make the changes, the amendments, and then call a special call next Tuesday. What time? Is all the graduations and everything over next Tuesday?
The
It's
graduation's
Thursday,
all right.
Friday, and Saturday, or
This week.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay, so our graduations will be over, so I think next Tuesday, could everyone be here at 4:30?
Say, special call for next
Special call for next
The
Tuesday. at 4:30.
21st.
Yes,
At 4:30.
yes.
Do we need to make a motion?
We just said it.
I'll second that.
No, we can just set it. Give Kim time to make the amendments and send it back out to the board. And then we'll do a special call next Tuesday at 4:30.
Kim, can you have that full budget printed out for us?
Diane can.
Diane?
Diane,
I'm sorry.
yeah, she
Kim, you
does.
look like a deer in the spotlight. Up.
No, Diane, because it won't print on my, if you send it to me, it prints out like it's about a third of the size. So,
Just give me tomorrow to get it all recalculated, and then we'll get it out. Is that okay?
yes, ma'am. Did we end up doing, what is it, TCRS at 8.75%?
For classified, 9% for certified. It's two different rates.
Is that what the county went with?
We have to follow their,
That's what I thought. Anything further? All right, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We're done.
Aye.
So hopefully we can get this out to the county commission next week.
Phoenix is at